Namaste everyone. Welcome to day 4 of Navratri Satsang, and the topic is learning from women in Ramayana. Today is day 4, so the Tithi is Panchami, and the form goddess Durga that is being worshipped today is Skandamata Devi, that is the mother of Lord Kartikeya. And today's color is orange, which signifies knowledge and tranquility. Tranquility means peace, going beyond the Dvandvatva, that is the good and the bad, pleasure and pain. So going beyond this Dvandvatva is tranquility. So let us offer our prayers at the feet of Skandamata Devi to bless us with knowledge, tranquility, practical wisdom that Ansuyaka is teaching us, and also not only listening to this and understanding this, but also put them into action in our daily circumstances and activities. With this, let us begin the chanting of 32 names of Durga with the sankalpa of overcoming distresses and to experience peace and harmony. Let's begin. Om Durga Durga Tishamani Durga Padvivarini Durga Machedini Durga Sadhini Durga Nashini Durga Todharini Durga Nihantri Durga Mapaha Durga Magnanada Durga Daitya Lokadavanala Durga Ma Loka Durga Matma Swarupini Durga Marga Prada Durga Mavidya Durga Mashrita Durga Magnana Samsthana Durga Madhyana Bhasini Durga Moha Durga Maga Durga Martha Swarupini Durga Masura Samhantri Durga Mayudhadharini Durga Magi Durga Mata Durga Mya Durga Meshwari Durga Bhima Durga Bhama Durga Bha Durga Dharini Om Durga Durga Tishamani Durga Padvivarini Durga Machedini Durga Sadhini Durga Nashini Durga Todharini Durga Nihantri Durga Mapaha Durga Magnanada Durga Daitya Lokadavanala Durga Ma Loka Durga Matma Swarupini Durga Marga Prada Durga Mavidya Durga Mashrita Durga Magnana Samsthana Durga Madhyana Bhasini Durga Moha Durga Maga Durga Martha Swarupini Durga Masura Samhantri Durga Mayudhadharini Durga Magi Durga Mata Durga Mya Durga Meshwari Durga Bhima Durga Bhama Durga Bha Durga Dharini Om Durga Durga Tishamani Durga Padvivarini Durga Machedini Durga Sadhini Durga Nashini Durga Todharini Durga Nihantri Durga Mapaha Durga Magnanada Durga Daitya Lokadavanala Durga Ma Loka Durga Matma Swarupini Durga Marga Prada Durga Mavidya Durga Mashrita Durga Magnana Samsthana Durga Madhyana Bhasini Durga Moha Durga Maga Durga Martha Swarupini Durga Masura Samhantri Durga Mayudhadharini Durga Magi Durga Mata Durga Mya Durga Meshwari Durga Bhima Durga Bhama Durga Bha Durga Dharini Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om. With this, I would like to hand it over to Ansulaka. 1 second, Akka. I will just stop sharing and give you the permission.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the screen visible to everybody? And are you able to hear me speak?
Yeah, Akka.
Then we will start. यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुग्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये आपदामपहर्तारं दातारं सर्वसम्पदां लोकाभिरामं श्रीरामं भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहम् भर्जनं भवबीजानां अर्जनं सुखसम्पदां तर्जनं यमदूतानां राम रामेति गर्जनम्. So namaskar to everybody and welcome you all to this satsang of Navratri, where today we are on our fourth day. So today we will take up the story of one of the women in Ramayana, let us say around whom a lot of controversial views are expressed about this episode. But again, as we said in the first day itself, our intention is not to justify anything or to say whether something was right, wrong, and all, but let us see what we can learn from the entire episode. So we know about Ahalya Devi. She was the wife of Gautama Rishi. Now, we've all heard of the episode where Vishwamitra Rishi comes and he asks Dasharatha to send Rama and Lakshmana with him into the forest because there are a lot of Rakshasas who are there troubling the rishis who want to do their tapascharya, and he needs protection. So he asked to send Rama and Lakshmana. We know about that whole thing. Now there is one Sukshma viewpoint here. We have to take note of the subtle fact that Vishwamitra was such a powerful rishi himself, isn't it? He could have very easily destroyed the Rakshasas by his tapobal. But when he has to do a yajna, then his bal has to be engaged in the performance of the yajna, and he cannot utilize it for doing Rakshasa Samhara. So that was one of the reasons why he wanted to take Rama and Lakshmana. In that, under the pretext of taking them to protect from the Rakshasas, he wanted to impart a lot of Vidya also to them. And then there was also the agenda of taking them to Mithila, and Sita Devi had to be married to Rama. All that had to happen. So anyway, we will not go into that for today. But as they traveled, as Vishwamitra was taking these two princes and going along, they reached one ashram which appeared very deserted like, and there was nobody in that place. And there was instead one big rock like thing, which is seen in this picture. There's actually a rock. And then as Rama went there and he stood near that rock, his feet touched that stone, and immediately from there was a woman who appeared. Rama was surprised, what is all this happening? So then Vishwamitra Rishi explains the story of Ahalya. So Ahalya was actually created, fashioned out by Brahma himself, and she was intended to be the most beautiful woman. Actually, what had happened is this Apsara called Urvashi had grown very proud. She's there in Indra's Swarga, isn't it? So Urvashi was very proud that she is the most beautiful woman in the world. To humble that pride of Urvashi, Brahma created Ahalya. The word Ahalya is sometimes split up as Ahalya, one who has no ugliness, one who has nothing to mar her beauty. So that is Ahalya. And she was very beautiful, created in a very beautiful way. So when that baby was born, when Brahma created that child, then he gave the child to Gautama Rishi to bring her up. And Gautama Rishi brought her up very well. And he brought, at the time of puberty, he brought and gave her back to Brahma and said, yes, I have brought up your daughter, so you please take her. So Brahma was so pleased with this that he said, I will give her to you only in marriage. And he gave Ahalya in marriage to Gautama Rishi. Now it is said that Indra was very much enamored. He was in love with Ahalya or whatever it is. And he wanted very much that she should have been married to him. But since Brahma gave her away to Gautama Rishi, so that desire was still there in his mind. So one fine day, I will talk about these things in the PPT a little later. So one fine day, Indra reaches the ashram of Gautama Rishi and takes on the form of the Rishi himself, isn't it? And that is the time of the Brahmi Muhurta. It is the early morning hours, early even before dawn. So Rishi goes out to the river to have his bath, and within 5 minutes of that, Rishi enters into the ashram. From Ahalya's viewpoint, if you see, her husband has come back, and then she lets him seduce her, and they get into a physical relationship. And after the act is all over and Gautam Rishi is leaving from the ashram, the real Gautam Rishi comes. So who was this fake Gautam Rishi? It was Indra in the guise of Gautama. So at once, as soon as he sees this, Gautam Rishi realizes what has happened and he curses both Indra and Ahalya. So Indra's curse is that he has to lose his reproductive organs. And there are some places where they say that his entire body is going to be covered with the appearance of the vagina, female vagina. The Ahalya gets the curse that she has to turn into a stone and be there. But then she cries and begs at his feet, and she begs forgiveness. She says, I have done wrong, you please forgive me. And then he redeems that curse and he says that fine, you will be a stone until the day when Prabhu Ramachandra comes to this ashram and he releases you from this curse. The day his feet and the dust from his feet fall on you, then you will regain your original form. So there are some versions of the Ramayana where they say that she didn't actually turn into a stone, but she was supposed to live, a life of very ghor tapasya, not eating anything, only breathing the air and surviving and constantly contemplating on the Lord and such kind of a life. So whatever it is, now when we look at it from the worldly point of view, it appears as a curse. But Ahalya herself, what does she say? In the Tulsi Ramcharitmanas, there is a reference to what Ahalya herself says about this whole incident. So it says, Muni Shrapa Jodina Ati Bhalakina. So when the Muni, the Rishi, gave me a shrap, he gave me a curse, he did bhala to me. He did very good to me. What was that? Parama Anugraha Maimana. I consider it as Parama Anugraha, the biggest kripa that the Rishi did on me. What was that? Deku Bhari Lochana Hari Bhava Mochana Ihalabha Sankara Jana. Sankara Jana. What she's saying is, with these eyes of mine, I could see the divine form of Hari, of Lord Rama. That was the biggest gift that I got. That was the biggest kripa that the Muni could have done on me, right? And she's praying that, oh Lord, after seeing Rama, she's saying all this. And she's saying, it is the biggest gift I've got to be able to see you with my own eyes like this. And please give me this much blessing that just as the bee always roams around the nectar-laden flowers, in the same way, let me also be always contemplating on your lotus feet. Give me this as the blessing. So this is the viewpoint of Ahalya about the whole episode. Now here there was something that I said we will talk about later. So that's part of the story too. That Vali and Sugriva, who appear in the Ramayana, they were actually brought up by Ahalya. Now, how did this Vali and Sugriva, how did that happen? That connection. So we know about Surya, the sun god, isn't it? So Surya travels in a chariot across the sky, they say. So that charioteer is called as Aruna. Now, once this Aruna was discussing with Surya about Swargaloka. And how is it? I've heard there are a lot of beautiful apsaras there and everything, this, that, there's a lot of entertainment that goes on. What is it like? And all he was asking. So Surya Dev said, yes, it is true, but then only women are allowed entry into that Swarga, that place, and other people cannot go and see. So what this Aruna did was, he took on the rupa of a woman. He converted himself into a woman and called himself Aruni. Okay. So this Aruni gained entry into Swarga because now in woman form. So when Aruni went there, then Indra saw Aruni. She was a very beautiful woman. So he got enamored of her. And then soon they had a child very immediately. Okay. Similar. So that was the child called Vali. And then because there was no other option, like who will take care of this? They left that child with Ahalya and Gautam Rishi to take care of. So then Aruni changed back into his form as Aruna and came back to Suryadev. Then he narrated all this. So Suryadev said, oh, is it like that? I also want to see that form. Show me also. So again, he converted back into Aruni and showed that form, and so enticingly beautiful that the sun god Surya himself also immediately had a relation with Aruni, and they also had a child. And that child was Sugriva. Right? So both these children, Vali and Sugriva, were given to Ahalya to take care of. So she selflessly took care of them. In fact, she was very attached to them and she would take care of them so well that at some point, Gautam Rishi was very irritated that these children, they belong to somebody else and she's simply lavishing so much attention on them. And he actually turned them into monkeys, thinking that that would cut off her affection. But although they were in the monkey form, still she took good care of them and she really brought them up well. Then Ahalya is also said to have another son called Shantanan, and this person was the priest of Janak Raja. So in fact, after this Ahalya episode, when Vishwamitra takes the princess to Mithila, then there before the Swayamvar and all that, this Shantanand meets them and he does ask, how is my mother? So they say, yes, she is back to her normal form now, and they inform him about all the happenings there. So this is the story of Ahalya. And as I said, this now what I mentioned that, controversial. People say, why did Gautam Rishi have to curse her? What mistake she did, and all that. We will talk about that. Before that, there is another thing that when Rama's feet touched Ahalya, she turned back from a stone into a human being. She regained her human form. So actually, in some places, the commentators say that it was Rama was Ekapatni Vrata, isn't it? So he wouldn't even touch another woman with his foot. So actually, what fell on the stone was not Rama's foot, but it was the dust from Rama's feet, which fell on that stone. And that dust of his feet had so much power that it converted her back into a human form. So that is something that we here also told. Now, when Rama, when she regained her form, then she praises Rama with a very beautiful verse. And she says, she calls him, Jnana Gamya Jai Raghurai. So you are the Jnani, you are the one who is having all the Paramajnana in this world. To know that Rama is having Paramajnan and to recognize his true form. See, remember, this all happened during the Balakanda, isn't it? So Rama is still a young boy. At the time of the marriage, he was just 12 years old. So he's still a young boy, but she recognizes in him. So to recognize that he is the Paramatma and he is Jnani, how much more Jnani she must have been. And then she says, Ravana Ripu Jana Sukhadai. So Ravana's enemy, she's calling him. How did she know that? Because she was Paramajnani. Because there is this concept that in Treta Yuga, whatever happened, like we know these yugas, they are a cycle, right? So this time in Treta Yuga, this has happened. So already in previous Treta Yugas, Rama Avatar has taken place. So she knew that she was such a knowledgeable woman. And that is the greatness of Ahalya. So what can we learn from this story of Ahalya? Sometimes there are some things which appear like a curse to us from one angle. And it appears as though something bad has happened to us. But it can be a blessing from another point of view, just as Ahalya expressed that because she got the curse, she turned into a stone. But then because she turned into the stone and she was told that you will be redeemed when Rama comes, she got to see Lord Rama with her own eyes, isn't it? She got Divya Darshan of Rama, which people don't. There are so many Rishi Munis who do tapascharya for thousands of years, they don't get. But she got it by just the dust of his holy feet. So that is the biggest blessing that she could have, right? Second thing is that many times we can be in situations where we may be fooled, but it is up to us to exercise our thinking process, to use our discrimination capability at all times. Now, earlier I should have thought, why did the Rishi return from the river in just 5 minutes? Normally, if he goes to have bath at 3 o'clock in the morning and he comes back only at 3:30, then today, why did he come back in 5 minutes? Why would he come back? She could have questioned, she could have done something. So she lost her power of discrimination at that point of time. And when our buddhi gets into a state of brahma like this, it loses discrimination. Then at that time, we take wrong decisions or we do the wrong things. We get carried away in our emotions sometimes. So whatever we get is the phala of our own karma. So she did something, she got the phala for that. So even in our life, there are times when we do certain things, and whatever we do, we have to undergo the outcome of that, the result of that karma. We have to bear it. For us, many times we think that we are all good people. Why are bad things happening to us? Now we are good. We don't know what we have done in past janmas. So everywhere there is a perfect account that gods keep, isn't it? We know Chitragupta is there as the account keeper. So that account of God is always very perfect. It is not like our account. If you go to a bank and you ask for money, they give you money from your account. They don't give from others' account. But still, sometimes in our worldly banks, there can be mistakes. They may, by mistake, transfer from someone else. But God's account is a perfect account. So whatever you have done, you have to bear that. ಅದರ ಏನಂತೀವಿ ಅದು ಅನುಭವಿಸ್ಬೇಕು ನಾವು ಆ ಪಾಪ ಕರ್ಮ ನಾವು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಿದೀವೋ ಅದ್ರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಏನ್ ದುಃಖ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, we have to undergo that. So we should understand this concept and realize that whatever we are suffering in our life is only an outcome of our own actions, either in this life or in some previous life. So using that attitude, we have to take responsibility for whatever happens to us and stop playing victim. Stop blaming external factors. Stop blaming other people for whatever goes wrong in our life. If we take this attitude, we will be able to, learn to live a life which is definitely not very unhappy. If we are all the time thinking that this is responsible, that is responsible, this person, that person, we keep blaming other people, then the amount of unhappiness in our life is only going to multiply. But if we are able to, consider that, yes, it is my papa karma because of which I'm undergoing this, then I will be able to stop this, game of playing victim, and I will be really able to make progress on my journey. Then we saw about how she brought up all those children. I told about Vali and Sugriva. So although they got converted into monkeys, she did not give them up. She still brought them up with love. How many people can do this? Is it very easy? Often when we have a situation where our children are there, some other children are also there, then we are likely to, create some kind of a partiality will be there in our behavior. We will treat our children with little extra love as compared to the others. But Ahalya was such a selfless woman. So we can learn that spirit of selflessness from her. And her whole positive spirit, as I said, that everybody else would have thought that it was an injustice giving the curse to her. But she herself looked upon it as a positive thing. So that kind of a positive thinking spirit we have to learn from Ahalya. And another important thing we can think about is that she turned into a stone, right? So what is that? What does that stone thing signify? That stone means it's an unthinking, unfeeling kind of a object, isn't it? So similarly, when we pass through some crisis situation, then if we are all the time going to get emotional about it and keep, lamenting over our fate and only try to find solutions from outside, it will not give us a proper way of handling that situation. Instead, we should become like a stone. What does this mean, becoming like a stone? We have to withdraw within. We have to pull our mind from the outside world and pull it into ourselves, introspect, and try and see what is it that went wrong? What did I do to contribute to this? How can I act better? What could I have done to prevent this from happening? What are the steps I can take to avoid this happening in the future? So all such kinds of thought processes will only happen if we are in an introspective mode, isn't it? If we are only busy with trying to be extroverted in our dukkha, then we will never get to the stage of going antarmukh and trying to find the solution. We will be happy in crying over our problem. And in fact, that is the reason why many people suffer, that they want to tell their problem. We want to tell what is our problem. We want sympathy from other persons. But we may not really look at what I can do to solve the problem. So from Ahalya, this thing of converting into a stone, we can understand that we must become introspective. Whenever there is some difficult situation in our life, we need to go into ourselves and try and analyze what it is that we can do. And as usual, pray to God. God is there to solve all our problems. He is there to give us the strength to face our problem. Even if the problem doesn't get solved, at least He will give us the strength to deal with it and to overcome it. So these are the lessons that we can learn from the story of Ahalya. So thank you everybody for listening so patiently. If anybody has any questions, then we will take them now. As I said, please keep in mind that our intention is we are not going to question why Gautam Rishi had to curse her, why she was given a curse like that. It was not her fault and all that, because we've already talked about how she should have had Viveka, right? She was a point of time, probably she's party to that fault. So her actions, she had to bear the results of it. So that concept is not something that we will debate over. But if there is anything else that anybody wants to say or add or ask a question about, definitely yes, we will go ahead. Please ask. You can unmute and ask.
Ma'am, even for Indra also it turned out to be a blessing, no ma'am, because all those yonis that he had on his body, that got converted to eyes is what they say. That is how he also got Papa Vimochan, because eventually say those yonis which covered the whole of Indra's bodies, apparently all those yonis were converted to eyes. That is the reason Indra has a capacity to view everything because his whole body is covered with that vision, is what they say.
Correct, correct. Yeah, that is true, Manjana. Thank you. I didn't mention about that. Thank you for mentioning that. Anybody else wants to say anything? Stories like Ahalya's, they are on the surface one way, but then we need to look at them a little deeper and try and see what, because there's one more thing here that I didn't mention. That thing that maybe she knew it was Indra and still she continued, into that whole setup. So sometimes probably it could be said that what you say, the vanity or the sense of achievement that, okay, I am so beautiful and I am so accomplished that the Lord of the Devas himself wants to enjoy me. So like this, in our life also sometimes we get full of our own emotion. We get full of thinking about ourselves. We feel too full of ourselves. And in that situation, we may sometimes end up, making mistakes. So that is another thing that we can keep in mind also in this context. Okay. Is there anything else that anybody wants to say? Okay. Maybe then, Usha, we can go ahead and do the Krityagnata.
Huh. I'll share the screen. That was a very valid point, the point on introspection. I think it would be a nice exercise. I was thinking that end of the day, just before going to bed, just 5 minutes think of how was the day and how are the circumstances, the conversations with people, and how are my reactions, and just think over whether it could have been better or if I had reacted in a different way, how the consequences would have been. I think that would be a nice thing to do. I think I would like to start with that.
Yeah, that's right. Very correct. Very practical tip you have given, Usha. Thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
everybody can adopt.
Yeah, thank you, Akka. That was a wonderful session yet again. These characters, when we look at them individually, there is like so much to see, so much to learn because when we see as a story, it's very much at the surface and we don't dwell much into the characters themselves. But when you take up the characters individually, like you're explaining, I think we get to learn a lot. Thank you for all the take home messages that you're giving. Thank you. Let us offer our Kritanyata. Let us offer gratitude at the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna and Guru for inspiring us to start and join the satsang and pray for the blessings and grace to be upon us always. Hari Om. Thank you very much. Thanks everybody for attending the satsang.
Thank you, everyone. Namaskar.